were currently discussing about the organizational culture, its importance, why it matters, how to change culture, and what is the need to change culture. So, in the last lecture, we discussed about the steps to successfully change culture, starting from assessing your current culture, defining the desired culture that you want to have in the coming future, which should be aligned with the strategy. Then you engage leadership to model new behaviors, because the role of leadership is pivotal whenever we talk about changing culture or sustaining culture. Then you have to align your systems, be it hiring, the reward system, communication, etc., with the new values. And then you make sure that you are reinforcing and measuring the change over time. So, let us understand each of these steps in more detail. So, the first step is to assess the current culture. So, before making changes, deeply understand the existing culture. What are your dominant behaviors, your values, your beliefs as an organization? What do employees say informally about the organization? What is rewarded or punished in practice and not just in policy or in paper? And where are the cultural gaps? So, after doing that, you can think of changing the culture. But then how do you get to know all these questions that I just discussed? So, there can be various tools that can be used in the form of surveys, like the Organizational Culture Assessment Instrument, or you can have focus groups, employee interviews, or you can even observe the norms and practices. So, if the stated value is innovation, but employees feel punished for mistakes, that means there is a mismatch between the espoused and the actual culture. Now, you need to define the desired culture, what you want to have. So, for that you need to have a clear, compelling vision of the future culture. Now, you know what your existing culture is. You have to define your future culture, which again means that you have to understand what values and behaviors should define the new culture. How does this culture align with the company's mission and strategy? So, no matter you are changing your culture, but at the same time, don't you think that it should be aligned with your company's mission and strategy? Only then it is going to make any sense. And most importantly, what kind of leadership style would support the new culture? For example, a company shifting to customer centricity may adopt values like empathy, agility, and collaboration. Then you have to secure leadership commitment. So, as I said, that leaders' role would be of great importance. So, at all times, be it creating culture, sustaining culture, or changing culture, the role of leadership would be of paramount importance. So, culture change must begin at the top. And what do the leaders need to do? They need to model the desired behaviors consistently. And most significant aspect is that they need to communicate the why behind the change. And this is something where the leadership at times fails, that we do communicate to our people that this is the change which would be incorporated in the coming future, be it their seating, be it the structure, be it their roles, but we fail to communicate the why behind the change. And believe me, if you can communicate properly and timely the reason behind this change, people would be more forthcoming in accepting that change, because all that we are bothered is the why behind the change. But when that is not communicated, change gives us anxiety and it gives us that fear of the unknown. So, here is where the role of the leaders would be, extremely significant, that they must communicate the why. So, they should be willing to make tough calls for letting go of high performers who violate new cultural norms. So, you have to make sure that the people around, they are in sync with your new cultural values, and if you have to let them go, you have to take that tough call. If a company wants to build a culture of transparency, leaders must share data openly and even when it is not favorable. Next is you need to engage and involve employees. So, whenever a change is there, that change would be impacting the people, the employees. So, that cultural change would be affecting the employees utmostly. So, culture can't be imposed, it must be co-created. For that, you need to involve employees in identifying cultural pain points and also co-developing solutions. So, their participation, their collaboration is important. So, you need to set up culture ambassadors or change champions across various departments, and also recognize and reward the early adopters of new cultural behavior. So, you need to identify who are those people who are forthcoming in accepting and adopting the new culture, recognize them and reward them, so that the others also get a motivation of adopting to or quickly getting into the new culture. Then align structures, processes and policies. So, culture, as we all know, is reinforced through systems. So, you must embed the desired culture into everyday operations. And what could be these everyday operations? These could include your performance management systems, means your appraisals and everything, hiring and onboarding processes, promotions and rewards, and communication and feedback mechanisms. So, if collaboration is a desired value, reward team achievements and not just individual performance. Then communicate continuously and authentically. So, communication should not stop by just communicating once. You have to sustain communication. And what you can do is you can share stories of employees living the new culture, use multiple channels like emails, town halls, videos, internal social media, and be honest about challenges and setbacks, because changing a culture won't be easy and it won't be easily accepted. There would be a certain number of challenges and there could be setbacks too. So, as leaders, you can show your vulnerable side, you can be honest about whatever challenges you are facing and whatever setbacks you are receiving. So, identify and address the cultural blockers. So, certain individuals, departments or legacy practices may resist change, as we discussed previously also. So, you can provide coaching or mentoring wherever it is possible, and if needed, take decisive action against behaviors or systems that undermine change. So, you can't keep those toxic behaviors or people who are totally against this change, because ultimately they will influence other employees' behaviors also. So, if you are able to identify certain individuals who are not behaving in a proper manner or who are not accepting the change, you can as a leader take some hard decisions for that matter. So, an outdated performance review system encouraging individual silos must be redesigned to promote teamwork. Then once you have done this, you need to measure progress and reinforce culture. So, you can't manage what you don't measure, it is always said. So, you can use culture pulse surveys, feedback tools and KPIs. And once you have done this, you can celebrate the small wins to create a momentum. Let people know that yes, we wanted to do this and we have done this. Keep refining based on employee input and changing business realities. So, share quarterly reports on how culture metrics have improved or slipped and what actions follow. So, even if you have been successful, share it. even if you have failed or you can identify certain gaps, you can share that as well, but followed by what actions you want to take in order to fill those gaps. And lastly, you need to institutionalize the new culture, because there would be situation where though you have introduced a new culture, but after some time people they return back to the older one. So what would happen then? So you have to make sure that the new culture sticks. So include cultural values in job descriptions, onboarding and leadership development. Build it into strategic planning and decision making frameworks, and ensure new hires and promotions they align with the new culture. Ask culture related questions during interviews to hire people who embody desired values. So through this you can actually bring in the new culture. You can let the new culture stay and stick, so that people could understand the requirement of the new culture and they could change their behaviors accordingly. So moving further, we have now very clearly understood the importance of an organizational culture. And now I am going to talk about yet another topic which is related to organizational culture and which comes under the umbrella term of organizational culture, which is workplace safety. So organizational culture and workplace safety, they are deeply intertwined. The culture of an organization, its shared values, beliefs, norms and behavioral patterns, they shape how employees perceive and act towards safety. So what is our take on safety of our people? That is also a part of our culture. How leaders look at the safety of its people, that is again a part of the culture. So that is why I said that this is a separate topic, yet it is a part of the umbrella term called organizational culture. A strong and a positive culture builds an environment where safety is not seen merely as a compliance requirement, but as a collective responsibility embedded in daily routines and decision making at every level of the organization. So it is a culture that would build that kind of an environment where you don't look into the safety aspect as a mere paperwork or something which is just written in black and white and kept in the files just to show for the compliance agencies. But it is, yes, it is a collective responsibility which is exhibited through our daily activities, the way we are doing certain things, the way we are taking decisions at every levels. And at its core, organizational culture defines how things are done around here. And when safety is integrated into that definition, it becomes a natural part of employees' behavior. So workers in such cultures, they take initiative to follow safety procedures, they report hazards and look out for each other, not because they are told to, but because they believe it is the right thing to do. In contrast, in organization where productivity or profit is valued over people's well-being, safety tends to take a backseat, leading to negligence, accidents and in extreme cases tragedies like the Bhopal gas tragedy or the Rana Plaza collapse. We all have heard about these accidents and these tragedies, and we will discuss this as a case study over here. So, in these scenarios, what was the ultimate desire of these organizations? They all valued profits over people, and the results we all have seen. So, these disasters did not occur solely due to technical failures. They were the result of deeper cultural failures, an absence of accountability, disregard for human life, and a mindset of cost cutting over care. A safety oriented culture, as discussed by management scholars like K. Ashwathappa, emerges when leadership demonstrates commitment, employees are empowered, and open communication is encouraged. So, leaders in such environments, they model the safe behaviors, allocate sufficient resources, and ensure that ethical considerations guide every operational decisions. This fosters psychological safety, where employees feel confident to voice the concerns without fear of punishment. So, again the role of leadership comes when it comes to talking about workplace safety, saving your people from hazards. Moreover, an organization's culture influences risk perception and behavior also. And in a blame oriented or authoritarian culture, employees may hide mistakes or avoid reporting near misses, which prevents learning and improvement. On the other hand, in a learning culture, errors are analyzed constructively to strengthen safety systems. Thus, the culture determines whether incidents are covered up or used as catalysts for progress. So, it is a basic human nature that we never take the responsibility or the blame of failures. We always put it on others. And this is the blame game in every corporation, in every industry, every sector. So, and what happens is that employees, they hide their mistakes, hide the errors that they can see, which could in future prevent certain accidents. But instead of owning up, we put that blame on somebody else, and that keeps on going. So, if you want to have a learning culture, accept your mistakes and move forward, means you need to analyze why this happened. You need to analyze and then strengthen your safety system. So, in essence, the workplace safety is the mirror through which the true character of an organization's culture is revealed. A strong safety record signifies an organization that respects human life, values the ethical management, and believes that success and safety must go hand in hand. So, let us discuss the concept of workplace safety. What do we mean by workplace safety? Workplace safety refers to the policies, procedures, and practices that ensure the physical, psychological, and environmental well-being of employees. It involves preventing injuries, illness, and fatalities by maintaining safe working conditions, equipment, and behavior. According to K. Ashwathappa's, safety is not just compliance, but an integral part of employee welfare and a key element of organizational behavior that not only impacts the morale, but also the productivity and even the trust. So, what is the scope of workplace safety means what all the areas that come under workplace safety. So, safety, it encompasses several dimensions. First and foremost, of course, is the physical safety, like the machinery, the tools, fire, ergonomics, noise, lighting. Then is the chemical safety, safety from hazardous substances, waste handling, ventilation. Then there is biological safety. It could be exposure to viruses, bacteria inside the labs or pharma industry. Then there is psychological safety, an interesting aspect of safety. Are your people free from stress, from bullying, harassment, burnout? All these aspects come under psychological safety. And then of course there is environmental safety, which is air, water and waste management standards. So, safety as a strategic priority. This is the next topic that we are going to discuss, that how you can make safety as your strategic priority. And the first point here that we are going to discuss is the role of leadership again. So, leadership commitment to safety. A strong safety culture begins with visible commitment from top management. So, when leaders they consistently prioritize safety, it sends a clear message that employee well-being is non-negotiable, and we as an organization give safety of our employees as a priority. And leadership sets the tone through their actions by visiting work sites, reviewing safety metrics and rewarding safe practices rather than only productivity. So, if your leader is just talking about productivity and just the numbers and the targets, that means that he is not worried about your mental, or you can say the work life balance or the stress that you are having. But if he meets you at the work site, reviews all the safety parameters and is appreciating the safe practices, that means that that leader is in true sense worried about the safety of its people, and he is committed to the safety of the employees. For example, at Tata Steel, safety is embedded into leadership performance matrix. Every senior executive participates in regular safety walks across the plants to interact with workers and identify risks firsthand. And this hands-on involvement has drastically reduced the workplace incidents or accidents. Similarly, DuPont, a pioneer in safety management, established the DuPont safety philosophy, where leaders are expected to lead by example, reinforcing the belief that all injuries are preventable. So, this a single line expresses the culture of the organization. Secondly, you can integrate safety into your organizational goals. So, how interesting it would be that if your organization goal is to keep your people safe. So, safety should not be treated as a separate compliance function, as I said, that it is not something which has to be a written philosophy, a written policy matter which is there dumped in a file. It must align with the organization's strategic vision and business goals. So, when safety becomes a performance objective for every department, it influences decision making at every level. For example, the Toyota, it integrates safety into its Kaizen philosophy, and Kaizen is a Japanese term used for continuous improvement. So, every process improvement initiative includes a safety check to ensure that productivity gains do not compromise worker welfare. So, the company's long-term strategic plan includes zero accidents as a measurable business objective. So, their goal is not only to have more numbers, increase productivity, but also they want that their workers' welfare should also be kept into consideration, and having zero accidents is a measurable business objective. Infosys, for that matter, also integrates health, safety and environmental goals within its sustainability framework, treating workplace safety as a key performance indicator in its annual reports. The third one is by building a safety oriented culture. So, culture defines behavior, we know that. So, a safety oriented culture promotes awareness, shared responsibility and mutual care among employees, and it fosters open communication about risks and ensures that employees feel responsible not just for their own safety but also for that of their colleagues. So, the Shell Global has built a strong goal zero safety culture, striving for zero harm to people and the environment. Regular campaigns, peer observations and open reporting channels ensure that everyone participates in maintaining safety. Maruti Suzuki also encourages a safety first approach through team based safety circles and monthly safety weeks, engaging both employees and contract workers in training and awareness activities. So, friends, we will continue further on these safety issues in the next lecture. Thank you.